Have you ever stopped and wondered why some voices ripple through time, while others vanish the moment they're spoken? Why one man's sentence ignites a revolution, while another's plea is forgotten before it leaves his lips? It's not just what's said. It's the soul behind the sound, the intention behind the tone, the clarity of the mind before the mouth ever opens. You see, long before I ever held a microphone or stood behind a podium, I stood in front of myself, silent, doubtful, drowning in the noise of my own hesitation. I knew what I wanted to say, I just didn't know how to say it. And worse, I didn't believe anyone would care if I did. But something happens when you realize your voice isn't just a sound, it's a seed that can build bridges between people, a seed that can tear down walls inside yourself, a seed that, if spoken with conviction, can grow forests of influence, opportunity, and change. That's when I found them. The old masters, the sages of simplicity, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, men who didn't just teach communication, they embodied it. Men whose words were like chisels shaping mountains out of minds. They didn't shout, they didn't hype, they just told the truth, gently, firmly, consistently. Rohn once said, "If you just communicate, you can get by. But if you communicate skillfully, you can work miracles." That's the power you hold every time you choose to speak with purpose. But most people don't speak to grow. They speak to react, to defend, to impress. They forget that communication isn't about showing off. It's about showing up. And before you can show up for others, you have to confront yourself. Because communication begins in silence. It begins with the thoughts you entertain when no one's watching. The inner dialogue you rehearse 1,000 times before you ever whisper a word. And if that inner dialogue is poisoned by fear, cluttered with doubt, tangled in self-judgment, then what escapes your lips will always fall flat. Nightingale said, "We become what we think about." But here's the forgotten extension of that truth. We influence the world by what we say about what we think. The mind is a furnace, the voice is the fire. And if you're not tending to your thoughts, your words will burn more bridges than they build. It starts with belief, not belief in perfection, not belief in your resume, but belief that what you have to say matters. That belief isn't arrogance, it's responsibility. Because if you've lived even a single hard-earned truth, if you've climbed out of even one dark valley, then you carry something this noisy world desperately needs: authenticity. And nothing cuts through chaos like a quiet, authentic voice, speaking with intention. Let me ask you, when was the last time you listened to your own words, not judged them, not rehearsed them, just listen? Do you hear conviction or confusion? Do your words light fires in others, or do they flicker and vanish in the wind? Communication isn't grammar, it's not vocabulary, it's not volume, it's vision. And vision comes from clarity. Clarity isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing what question you're actually trying to ask. Most people don't communicate poorly because they're dumb. They communicate poorly because they haven't taken the time to think clearly. Jim Rohn didn't use complicated language. He used clean thoughts. He could sit on a stool with a chalkboard and say more in one sentence than most men could in a whole book. Why? Because he understood the difference between noise and signal. Noise is cheap. It's everywhere. But signal? That's rare. That's deliberate. That's earned. If you want to speak with power, you have to live with purpose. And if you want to live with purpose, you must first learn to listen to your own silence. That silence holds your story. And every story worth telling begins with a why. Why are you speaking? Why does it matter? Who needs this message more than they need approval, likes, or applause? The moment your words become a gift, not a performance, that's when your voice begins to grow. Not louder, deeper. Because people don't remember volume, they remember truth. They remember the sentence that found them in the dark and whispered, "You're not alone." They remember the voice that didn't just talk at them but spoke into them. We live in an age of performance. Everyone's broadcasting, but no one's connecting. Everyone's typing, but no one's speaking from the soul. That's why the old voices still echo today. They weren't flashy. They were faithful. They didn't chase trends. They chased truth. And that truth, it came from discipline. Discipline to think clearly. Discipline to feel deeply. Discipline to say less but mean more. Discipline to resist the urge to speak when listening is louder. Rohn taught that success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. I'd argue communication is the same. A few simple disciplines practiced with consistency, refined with patience, delivered with love, because that's what this is really about, isn't it? Love. The willingness to care enough to be understood, the courage to listen until someone else feels seen, the humility to say, "I was wrong," the strength to say, "I believe in you." There is no communication without love. Only noise, only debate, only distraction dressed as dialogue. But love communicates even in silence. You ever see a man look his child in the eyes and say nothing? Yet that child feels safer than 1,000 words could ever make him. That's the kind of presence you must bring to your speech. Not cleverness, not charm. Presence. Your presence will say more than your pitch ever could. But to develop presence, you need purpose. Not the kind you write on your LinkedIn bio. The kind that keeps you up at night. The kind that makes you choose hard conversations over easy silence. That's where your voice begins to grow. When you stop trying to impress and start trying to impact. Impact. That's the word. Not impressions, not likes, not views. Why? Impact. That's what Earl Nightingale understood better than anyone. That one clear idea, well spoken, could change the course of a man's life, could lift him out of poverty, could restore a broken home, could spark a movement that outlives its maker. He didn't shout. He didn't dance for attention. He thought deeply, spoke calmly, and trusted the ripple. And that's what real communication is. It's not just about what happens in the moment. It's about what lingers after you're gone. What echoes in someone's soul long after your lips have stopped moving. Ask yourself, what do I want to echo? Is it clarity, wisdom, courage, or is it just more noise? Because the world has enough words. It needs meaning, and meaning isn't packaged, it's forged. Forged in stillness, forged in heartbreak, forged in listening to the moments when you wanted to speak but chose instead to understand. That's how you sharpen your voice. See, everyone wants to speak well, but few are willing to be misunderstood long enough to become wise. Because wisdom takes time. It takes silence. It takes discipline. And that's what most people skip. But not the greats. Not Jim. Not Earl. They sat with their thoughts. They wrote. They rewrote. They spoke to serve, not to impress. And when they opened their mouths, the world leaned in. Not because they were entertainers, but because they were guides. They didn't point at themselves. They pointed at principles. That's your job too. Not to become a personality, but to become a principle carrier. To embody the timeless truths in a time-starved world. And if you're going to do that, you've got to be willing to master the 3 most important skills a communicator can possess. Clarity of thought. Jim said, "Don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action." But action comes from clarity. If you can't think it simply, you can't say it powerfully. That's why the best communicators spend more time thinking than speaking. They write, they question, they test their thoughts like steel in a furnace. So before you speak, ask yourself, what am I really trying to say? What's the core idea, stripped of fluff? Could a child understand this? Because simplicity isn't weakness. Simplicity is strength made digestible. 2. Conviction of heart. This one, you can't fake it. You either believe what you're saying, or you're just reading from a script. And let me tell you something, conviction cuts deeper than charisma ever could. Conviction is what makes the room go still when you speak. It's what makes your voice tremble. Not out of fear, but out of fire. It's when people feel you before they even hear you. But conviction isn't yelling. Conviction is that calm thunder in your voice when you speak from truth, not performance. That's what makes people trust you. That's what makes your words stick. 3. Consistency of character. This is the long game. People don't follow great communicators because they speak well once. They follow them because their words match their walk. That's what Jim Rohn modeled his entire life. You could hear it in every talk. Not just a speaker, but a student of life. Because real influence doesn't come from style. It comes from alignment. Say what you mean, do what you say. And when you miss the mark, own it. That's how trust is built. And trust is the currency of communication. Lose that, and it doesn't matter how brilliant your delivery is, you'll just be noise in a crowd of liars. But keep it, and your voice becomes a lighthouse in a storm. Here's the truth most won't tell you. The skill of speaking is learnable. The art of connection is earned. It's earned by showing up again and again, even when you stutter, even when you sweat, even when no one claps. Especially then. It's earned by practicing in front of mirrors, in front of mentors, in front of failure. It's earned by watching your own videos and cringing, then doing it again anyway. That's the grit no one posts about. The invisible reps that never trend. But that's where the real growth is. Because one day, someone will hear your voice and feel less alone. One day, your words will find a person at the edge of quitting and pull them back. And when that day comes, you'll be glad you trained. You'll be grateful you practiced. You'll be humbled that your voice became more than sound. It became service. That's what Jim Rohn taught me. That's what Earl Nightingale proved. That if you speak with intention, live with integrity, and grow with humility, then your voice will outlive your body. Because truth echoes, and love multiplies, but noise fades. And now you must decide. Will you be an echo of everyone else's noise, or will you become a voice that carries truth across time? Because the world doesn't need more talkers. It needs builders. Builders of bridges, builders of courage, builders of belief. And all of that starts with one sentence. So, write it, speak it, live it, not for applause, not for fame, but because someone, somewhere, is waiting to hear exactly what only you can say. For centuries, every great leap, from kingdoms forged to moonshots launched, began with a voice cutting through uncertainty. A single sentence, then a second, until momentum had its own gravity. And yet, right now, maybe you're still whispering doubts. Who am I to speak? What if I stumble? What if they laugh? Friend, let me answer with the quiet certainty Jim Rohn carried everywhere he went. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more skill. Your voice is that skill in embryo. It's clay waiting for a sculptor called discipline and a furnace named experience. So here's the forge. Here's where words become weapons of healing and conversation becomes the currency of destiny. Each dawn, before screens scream for you, open a notebook. Write one page by hand answering a single question. What truth must I speak today? No editing, no deleting. Raw thought becomes refined intent. At midday, find a human barista, colleague, stranger on the bus, and convey a complete idea in exactly 3 sentences. Sentence 1, a hook that honors them. Sentence 2, the heart of your message. Sentence 3, a graceful exit or invitation. Precision births power. Record a 1-minute debrief of your day. Play it back. Did your tone match your intent? Did your pauses carry weight? Earl called this working the clay while it's still wet. Make micro adjustments. Tomorrow, sculpt again. Practice isn't punishment. Practice is proof you respect the stage you're asking the world for. Jim taught in triads: simple, sticky, memorable. So carve your message into 3 beats: reflection, the problem stated with empathy; revelation, the insight that reframes reality; resolution, the action that moves mountains. Follow that rhythm, and your words become bridges, never barricades. Most aspiring speakers fear silence like darkness, but the masters use it like sunrise. Pause after your core idea. Let the silence stretch until the listener leans forward. That lean is agreement forming in real time. Only then deliver your next line, and it will land like thunder on still water. You don't need an arena to change a life. You need one person. Earl's first broadcast went to fewer than 100 listeners. Jim's first seminar filled a backyard garage. Impact scaled because they spoke to the one in front of them as if the world were listening. Tonight, rehearse your message to one face, maybe your own, in the mirror, until compassion eclipses self-consciousness. When compassion leads, charisma follows. Great communicators don't break trust with erratic personas. They are predictably authentic. So choose your core values: integrity, curiosity, courage, love, and audit every sentence against them. If a line violates the covenant, cut it. If a joke punches down, trash it. If a promise can't be kept, rewrite it as an aspiration, not a guarantee. Your credibility is the amplifier. Protect it like oxygen. And now we arrive at a crossroads that every voice must face. Comfort whispers, stay small. It's safer. Calling roars, speak anyway. Someone needs the sound of your survival. Comfort counts the risks. Calling counts the rescues, which will guide your tongue tomorrow. Because somewhere a teen scrolls through endless noise wondering if anyone sees him. Somewhere a single mom battles silence at 2 a.m., craving a sentence that says, "You're not failing." Somewhere an elder sits by a window, hoping to hear hope itself before the light fades. They aren't looking for perfect grammar. They're looking for proof that courage is possible. You can be that proof. For the next 30 days, stand in the arena of your own life and deliver one intentional message daily. A voice note of gratitude. A public post that trades vanity metrics for vulnerable meaning. A conversation where you listen twice as long as you speak. Then reply with distilled kindness. Document the process, not for fame, but for feedback. Let progress be visible. Let mistakes be teachable. At day 30, gather the echoes. Did a colleague smile wider? Did a sibling finally open up? Did you walk taller because you kept a promise to your own potential? That data is your diploma. Hang it on the wall of your mind. Then keep walking. Speak with intention. Seed others with belief. Sustain momentum by feeding your own mind. Books, mentors, stillness. Jim Rohn spent a lifetime filling journals. Earl Nightingale spent a lifetime filling audio tape. Their voices still feed millions they never met. That's the legacy loop. A message poured today outlives the mortal messenger tomorrow. And you are next in the relay. Picture a stadium. Lights dim, a hush falls. You step to the mic, heart steady, mind clear, motive pure. But listen closer. The arena isn't out there. It's inside every conversation you'll ever have. Each handshake, each Zoom call, each bedtime story, each eulogy. The stakes are eternal, because the soul on the other side is eternal. So breathe deep. Feel the drum of your own heartbeat sync with purpose. Then speak, not to impress the masses, but to ignite the individual. Speak as if your sentence could stitch a torn future back together. Speak until the air itself vibrates with conviction. Speak until the timid part of you realizes bravery lives in breath, not in theory. And when the final word leaves your lips, let silence applaud. Let hearts digest. Let seeds sink. Because the oak tree of tomorrow's transformation is hidden in the acorn of today's well-placed word. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Your voice is a bridge between the invisible and the inevitable. Build it with clarity. Strengthen it with conviction. Guard it with character. Then watch as lives cross over into possibilities they never dared imagine. This is the art. This is the responsibility. This is the miracle Jim Rohn promised and Earl Nightingale proved. Now go, stand tall. Lean into the moment where comfort ends and calling begins. Speak to grow, and let the world grow because you spoke.